Good morning. 2 months ago, a Federation starship monitored an explosion on the Klingon moon of Praxis. Praxis was their key energy production facility. It is estimated within a 50 Earth-year time span, the Klingons will run out of oxygen and do not have the resources to combat this disaster because of their huge military budgets. Oh gosh. I confuse franchises again. I'm always doing something like this. Fans, you got to help me remember, this is the Imperial Collector, and I'm the Imperial Collector. I guess it's time for me to Enterprise 1 to beam out. Hello, and welcome to an all-new special midweek episode of the Imperial Collector. I am, of course, Oliver Dean McCurry, the Imperial Collector. Today we're going to be unboxing and talking about a character that first showed up in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, which was a set of books that were set in the Star Wars timeline around right after Return of the Jedi. The Expanded Universe actually gave Luke a child and a wife, and the child was very force sensitive. There's another part where Luke actually becomes the next emperor. There's a lot of different things there, and several years back they did take the Expanded Universe out of canon. But they did introduce Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is the character we're going to be talking about today. What's interesting is Grand Admiral Thrawn, he first showed up in the Expanded Universe in the book Heir to the Empire. It was a novel series, and that Kenner actually did an action figure of him based on that figure, and they had some illustrations in the books, evidently, or they made some illustrations of him, and that's like one of the first figures you see of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And he does have a pet there. Not sure what that pet is called. I didn't look that up, and I don't remember ever hearing it. But that's Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Kenner toy line. And it does say that this is Grand Admiral Thrawn from Heir to the Empire novel as portrayed in comics. So there was a novel series, but also, that's right, this is actually from the comic version. This Grand Admiral Thrawn is a little different from the one we see later on when he's in Star Wars Rebels. That's where this figure is from. This is a Funko Pop from Star Wars Rebels. They also did some Funko Pops from the Ahsoka series, Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's who we're unboxing today. This is a 6-inch Star Wars Black Series from Hasbro, and this is Grand Admiral Thrawn. What they did with this series of figures was they took figures from the cartoon, from Star Wars Rebels, and made them look like live action. So this is a portrayal in live action of Grand Admiral Thrawn from Rebels before we actually saw his portrayal in live action in Ahsoka. So there he is once again. It's a pretty cool figure. And I do have all those Star Wars Rebels figures. There's some other characters that were also in Rebels that are in Ahsoka that we'll take a look at those when we go over that as well, especially Sabine Wren. I have a lot of figures from and different collectibles for Sabine Wren. But today we're going to go over, like I said, the live action version from star Lars Mikkelsen. Lars Mikkelsen portrayed Grand Admiral Thrawn in the live Ahsoka series, but also he voiced Grand Admiral Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels, and then later on Tales of the Empire, where we learn some more things about Thrawn. So it's very interesting that not a lot of times a character actor, a voiceover actor, will voice a character and then be able to play that character in real life. It's interesting going over to Star Trek for a minute. There was a crossover episode of the new series Star Trek Strange New Worlds, where the Star Trek cartoon, which is Star Trek Lower Decks, merged together. And two of the voice actors were actually on the real life show. So it's very interesting. If you are a Star Trek fan, check out that episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It's pretty cool. Where Boimler and Beckett Mariner from Star Wars Lower Decks come into the live action universe, and it was the two actors that actually do voiceover that played them in real life as well. So back to the main thing we're doing today, unboxing a Hot Toys Grand Admiral Thrawn as seen in the Ahsoka series. Again, the box is pretty standard looking for most of the Hot Toys Star Wars figures. Has like the black triangular background. You have the actual figure there with some gray on the side, the Star Wars logo, and the little stripe going across here. The color of the stripe is indicative to the show. So all the Ahsoka series figures has a blue stripe on it, and you'll see those figures, and that's another picture of the figure on the side there. Now let's go ahead and unbox this figure. I've been waiting on him. There's other books in the series of, or there's other Thrawn books, not just the Heir to the Empire books. There's Thrawn Ascendancy, Thrawn Treason, and I've actually downloaded these on Spotify, and they're really good books. I listen to them going to work, and they're pretty cool. One other thing to mention, so as you'll see here, the artwork again with the actual figures there. You have some other characters from the Ahsoka series, which hopefully in the future we'll be getting these figures and unboxing. You have Captain Enoch from Grand Admiral Thrawn's Guard of Night Troopers, and you have some Night Troopers over here. Those troopers are very interesting. They were supposed to be kind of like zombies. Their uniforms or their actual stormtrooper armor had broken up over time, and it was just a mess. And real quick, what had happened close to the end of Star Wars Rebels, Grand Admiral Thrawn was defeated supposedly by gosh, his name just slipped my mind. Anyway, I'll think of it in just a minute. One of the characters that was actually becoming a Jedi, somehow, I can't remember exactly how, but they banished Grand Admiral Thrawn to another realm, and they both vanished. Ezra Bridger, sorry, good gracious. Ezra Bridger from Star Wars Rebels. And Ezra disappears, and so does Thrawn. And they're not quite sure. They think they could be dead. And if you're a fan, you think the same thing, really, up until we see these episodes in Ahsoka. But Grand Admiral Thrawn and he was on a Star Destroyer, and the Star Destroyer and everything went to this other realm, this other galaxy, that's too far away really to get to. It was almost like a transwarp drive from Star Trek that got them there, kind of like Star Trek Voyager. The Voyager was 70,000 light years from home and couldn't get back. But we see that Ahsoka and Sabine Wren actually end up going to this planet where you see Grand Admiral Thrawn, and actually Morgan Elsbeth goes there with Shin Hati and Baylan Skoll. Baylan Skoll is a figure we do have that we will be unboxing later. Anyway, so they've been there for, I think it's supposed to be like a decade. So yeah, these stormtroopers, they've had to keep up their armor and patch it together, and it's a crazy thing. Definitely watch the Ahsoka series to see all that. Okay, we're going to do what we normally do here. We're going to get out those accessories, and then look at the actual figure. We'll stick the Funko Pop Grand Admiral over to the side. Okay, now this is pretty cool. We'll start out with this. He has his Star Destroyer that's in the Ahsoka series that you see has a huge like warp jump sphere that he's building to get it back to the regular galaxy where Star Wars takes place. And it's on like that mountain where it's docked, and it's supposed to be a hologram of that. So that's very interesting. And it has some 3M tape, and it looks like maybe it's on a base or something. I'm not sure. Let me take a look at our instructions. So this figure is one where you can move the eyes. That's good to know. Oh, okay, there's a base in there, and it actually forms like a little table. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a bit. I think I saw that piece. Wasn't sure what it was, so we'll look at that in a few moments. So he does come with like a little, it's funny, like a galactic iPad maybe, of sorts, that he does hold, he can hold in his hands, and he does have specific hands for that. We have the little eyepiece that can maneuver his eyes. We have several hands. There's definitely a set of hands in here that I'll be using when I pose him, because one of the hands, he's doing this, whereas a famous pose of Grand Admiral Thrawn, you can see where he's like this, kind of thinking about what his next move is, type thing, kind of diabolical. You have some hands that grasp weapons, because he does come with his standard blaster. That's his blaster. It does have a lot of detail on it. It has like a different color stylized grip, has a little gold on the back there. He also has a little silver in the blaster, so it's really cool. Looks like a real authentic weapon there. Set the Grand Admiral to the side. It does have a lot of white, so be careful to keep that figure clean. Okay. Now his base is very similar to some other ones that we've already gotten. It's the standard Death Star or Star Destroyer or some type of Imperial cruiser deck plate, and you can see it there. It's got some silver scoring on it, and then of course the Grand Admiral Thrawn says his name there, and Star Wars like normal. He has the normal, comes with a lot of the figures that grabs the figure, and you can stand him right on there. We'll set that to the side for now. I did find out what we do here. So where I have these figures, these Hot Toy figures, you'll see later on when we do the curation part of the show, I don't think that I am going to display this little stand here that comes with Grand Admiral Thrawn, because honestly you've got to have a lot of real estate, a lot of space to put this little table, and I just don't think I do. So I don't think I'm going to do that, but I'll show you how it attaches here. You basically attach it to there, and then there's some 3M tape that is actually up under this that you're meant to take that off and attach it to the base, and it's kind of like a 3D representation of the planet and like the enemies, and then you see the good guys and they're being surrounded, and so it's kind of like a hologram on a table, which is very flimsy. I'm not sure why that's so flimsy, if they intended to be a holographic table, but like I said, I'm not going to use that in the display, so I did want to go ahead and show it to you. It is kind of neat, but where I'm displaying these figures, I just don't have room, and two, it's kind of silly to take up that much room. Okay, there are 4 other accessories here that I will go over in just a second, because they go with the figure, like to make his uniform complete. So we'll take a look at the figure while we're doing that also. Make a little extra room here. A lot of plastic protecting several parts of the Grand Admiral, like they do a lot with these figures. We'll get all the plastic off of everything. There's a little bit of cleanup I have to do here after these episodes of Imperial Collector with all these little plastic pieces. Let's see. There's some around his belt, which I'm trying to get off here. Okay. a piece of tape stuck to my finger. Well, they really want to make sure the Grand Admiral is protected in transit here. Well, that's good though. That's good. You know your figures are in good hands when they're this well protected. And I thought I had cut that tape. Hold on. Okay, picking up what you're putting down here. Sorry about that, finally. Oh my gosh. There's plastic here too. Good gracious. Why is there plastic in his boots? Okay. It's kind of ridiculous that I had to take his foot off. In order to remove that plastic. Wow. That is kind of silly. But, well, hey, these unboxing videos are also learning videos, so that you'll know if you get you a Hot Toys exclusive Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Ahsoka series, that you have to do some work to get him ready to display, or to go over in your own unboxing video if you were to start a series yourself of unboxing. Okay. Now I think we've got the Admiral set up there. Got his boots on. Hopefully there's no more plastic. Well, there he is. Wow. Well, since we've already done this, we'll go ahead and take a look at his eyes here. I think they're pretty well in place. Now this figure is a little different than other ones when it comes to his eye movement. His eyes are already centered, as you'll see here. So we're not actually going to move those. I think they're pretty much in place where I want them. But if you were to, they're just right up in there. You reach up in there. You see two little red dots there. With the little tool that they give you, like we've seen before with Ahsoka, and just put it up in there and can maneuver those around. But like I said, they're pretty much in the right place. And this is, what a great figure. What a great likeness of the actor, which, like we said, Lars Mikkelsen. Now, what's interesting about Lars Mikkelsen, like I said, other than the fact that, you know, he not only does the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels and in the Tales of the Empire series, also his brother, Mads Mikkelsen, is Galen Erso in Star Wars Rogue One. Galen Erso is probably one of the most important characters in the Star Wars universe. You're like, Galen Erso? Have I even heard of him? He's not C-3PO or Jabba the Hutt or Darth Vader. Nope. Who Galen Erso is, though, is the person who puts the defect into the Death Star to make it so easy to destroy twice. So that is a very important character. And that is this actor, Lars Mikkelsen's brother, Mads Mikkelsen. And he's been on a lot of stuff too. But so they're both in the Star Wars universe. Got kind of a legacy there. But this is just an awesome figure. He does have an all-white cloth uniform there. He has his Grand Admiral badging, as well as his gold badge of office on the sides too for the Grand Admiral, and up at the top here as well, just some more adornments. He does have a black leatherette belt with a silver belt buckle, which is kind of a standard for the uniform of the Empire. He does have some leather boots that are very detailed. There's like a little design here, like a broguing or something down there. You'll see. I haven't yet seen one that talked about the bottom, that had any writing on the bottom yet, like a regular figure. But it says Lucasfilm 2024 Hot Toy. So this is a 2024 figure from last year. But that is Grand Admiral Thrawn. And what I was saying is he does have, as I'll show you with this figure. So right here, these little silver, they look like pins. What they are is data encryption little nodes and access codes. And so he'll take that out and put that in there, and that's his like access. It's like his password and everything to various parts of the ship or to confidential data. So they actually, kind of odd, I guess, so it can be accurate, give you those separate, and you actually have to put them down in his little pockets for his authorization nodes, or I forget what they actually, there's a name for them, I think, that they actually call them, but I can't think of it at the moment. They do look kind of delicate though, because they're just in there with like little tiny, like I said, almost like pin. How you'll have like the little pocket hook on a pin. It's just like that actually, and it's very small and delicate plastic. So be careful with that. I'm being very careful with it as well. Access rods, data rods. Still, I can't remember exactly what they are called, but it is neat that they give you real ones. I mean, that go right in his uniform, and there they are, in the sides of his uniform. Just like all the Imperial officers have some type of nodes. Some of them have 4, some of them might have 2, and it just grants them access in different places and can track their passwords. So Grand Admiral Thrawn does have a holster for his gun that is magnetized. So I'm going to take his blaster. You could, of course, display yours with his blaster in his hand, because there is a hand that is specific to displaying his blaster. I'm not going to do that, but I did put his blaster in there. I'm going to display him with those maniacal thought hands, is what I call him, because he looks like he's in devious maniacal thought. Uh-oh. I appear to have pulled the whole joint out. So you will see, I don't think we've really done that before, the little ball joints do come out all the way from his hand, and he does have replacements of those. They do have such little nodules on them to where I guess, they could break, unfortunately. And over time, if you do have one that wears out and breaks, you do have extras. In fact, every one of the figures, I haven't mentioned it. That was one thing. I have not mentioned it yet in an episode of the Imperial Collector. Well, that one came out too. Almost every one of the figures, well, actually every one of the figures, has extra ball joints for their hands. Like I said, I guess they just assume that at some point you might have one that breaks, unfortunately. We don't want that to happen. Hope it doesn't happen, but I guess if you have the figures for a long time, it definitely could. Looks like a zombie right there, the way I've got him posed. We'll fix him and get him posed the way we want to. We'll check out his stand here. Bring back. Pull this up here. Let's see what we can do. Sorry, silence here, getting imposed correctly. I'm trying to get in exact the position that I want him in here to do his maniacal hand pose, where he's just in deep thought. So there he is, Grand Admiral Thrawn, in the pose that I like to place him in like this, that I have him in my collection. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please like and subscribe. This has been the Grand Admiral Thrawn unboxing from Star Wars, the Ahsoka series. I am the Imperial Collector. Please like and subscribe, and as always, may the Force be with you.